Section 60 of John Inglesant, A Romance. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. John Inglesant, A Romance, by Joseph Henry Shorthouse. Section 60, Chapter 38, Part 2. After dinner he was carried into the church, as in a triumph, in an open chair upon the shoulders of the sbirri. The tapers upon the altar shrines showed more clearly than did the dim and sober daylight that penetrated beneath the darkened roofs the three mystic aisles of the strange church, which were filled with a brilliant company of cardinals, nobles, innumerable ladies, gentlemen of every rank, ecclesiastics without end. The dark marble walls, the sumptuous crowd, the rich colors of the stained glass, gave a kind of lurid splendor to the scene, while on every side the sculptured forms upon the monuments, with stolid, changeless features, stood out pale amidst the surrounding gloom, and here and there, where free space was kept, the polished marble floor reflected the sombre brilliancy of the whole. As Molyneux was brought up to his place, he made a low and devout reverence to the cardinals, and his manner was perfectly possessed and without a show of fear or shame. He was made to stand up before the altar. A chain was bound round him and fastened to his wrists, and a wax taper was placed in his hand. Then, with a loud voice, a friar read his process, so as to be heard by all in the church. And as some of the articles were read, there were loud cries from the reverend and polite assembly of "Fire! Fire!" In a few moments the sight was over, and Molyneux was led back to the street, to be placed this time in a close carriage, and taken back to the prison, where his cell was prepared. As Inglesant stepped back into the aisle of the church, he felt someone pull him by his Benedictine gown, and turning round, he saw a lady in a velvet masque. She appeared excited, and, as far as he could see, was weeping, and her voice, which he thought he recognized, was broken and indistinct. "Cavalier," she said, "he will stop a moment in the vestibule before they put him in the coach. I want him to have this. He must have it. It will be a relief and consolation to him unspeakable. They will stop all of us, and will let no one come to him, but they will let you. You are a Jesuit, and their friend. For the love of Jesu, Cavalier, do him and me, and all of us this favor. He will bless you and pray for you. He will intercede for you. For the love of God, Cavalier." She was pleading with such eager cheerfulness and such hurried speech and gesture that he could not doubt her truth. Yet he paused a moment. "Surely I know your voice?" he said. "Ah, you know me," replied the masque. "But that is of no consequence. Another moment, and it will be too late, Cavalier, for the love of Jesu." Inglesant took the small paper packet, which seemed to contain a casket, and went down the fast emptying church. As he reached the entrance he stood and looked back for the velvet masque, but she was nowhere to be seen. His mind was full of suspicion, yet he was not unwilling to fulfill his mission. He should, at any rate, speak to Molyneux, and perhaps grasp his hand. In the vestibule Molyneux stood alone, a circle being kept at some distance round him by the guard. His manner was unchanged and calm. The select crowd stood around, gazing at him with eager curiosity. Outside might be heard again the shouting of the mob, and the cry of fire. Inglesant advanced towards the captain of the sbirri, but to his surprise, before he could speak, the latter made a sign, and the guards fell back to let him pass. A murmur ran through the crowd, and everyone pressed forward with intense eagerness. Molyneux looked up, and an expression of grateful pleasure lighted up his face as he extended his hand. Inglesant grasped it with emotion, and looking him in the face, said, Adieu, father. You are more to be envied than we. You are clothed in the heavenly garment, and sit down at the supper of the King. We wander in the outer darkness with an aching conscience that cannot rest." The expression of the other's face was compassionate and beautiful, and he said, "Adieu, cavalier. We shall meet again one day, when the veil shall be taken from the face of God, and we shall see him as he is." As Inglesant grasped his hand, he slipped the casket into it, and as he did so, dropped on one knee. The hand of the priest rested on his head for a moment, and in the next time he had risen and stepped back, and the guards closed in for the last time round Molyneux's, and the crowd pressed after, following them to the coach. When the carriage had driven off, and the crowd somewhat dispersed, Inglesant came down the steps and was turning to the right into Corso, when he was surprised to see that the captain of the sbirri had not followed his prisoner, but was standing on the causeway with 2 or 3 of his men, near a plain carriage which was waiting. As Inglesant came up, he turned to him and said politely, "Pardon, Signor Cavalier, I must ask you to come with me. You have conveyed a packet to a condemned prisoner, a grave offense, a packet which contains poison. You will come quietly, no doubt." "I will come quietly, certainly," said Inglesant. "Where are we going to? The Inquisition?" "No, no," said the other, as he followed the new prisoner into the coach. "Yours is a civil offense. We are going to the St. Angelo." The general must have a taste for theatricals, thought Inglesant, as the coach rolled off, or he never could have planned such a melodrama. On their arrival at the castle, he was conducted into a good room, not in the tower, which commanded an extensive view of St. Peter's. Great liberty was allowed him. Everything he liked to pay for was procured for him, and at certain hours he was allowed to walk on the glacis and fortifications. The second day of his confinement was drawing to a close when he was visited by the Dominican who had attended Molyneux's. This monk, who seemed a superior person, had evidently been impressed by the conversation and character of his prisoner. After the first greeting, he said, "That unhappy man requested me to bring you a message. It was to the effect that he had done you wrong. He saw you among the crowd as he was being brought to the Minerva, and noticed that you shrank back. He accused you in his mind of fearing to be compromised. He knows now that, on the contrary, you were watching for an opportunity to do him a service. It was but the thought of a moment, but he could not rest until he had acknowledged it and begged your forgiveness. He bade me also to tell you that the bruised reed is not broken, nor the smoking flax quenched." "Where did you leave him?" said Inglesant. "At the door of his cell, which he calls his cabinet." "The smoking flax is not quenched," said Inglesant. "I hear that one of his followers, a day or 2 ago, before the tribunal, told the examiners to their faces that they were a company of unjust, cruel, and heretical men, and that the measure which they dealt to others was the same that Christ himself had received from his prosecutors." "It is true," said the Dominican, "and it is true also that he is released, such on the contrary of the clemency of the church." After an imprisonment of about a fortnight, as Inglesant was one day taking his usual walk upon the fortifications, he was informed that the general of the order was in his room, and desired to see him. He went to him immediately, and was received with great appearance of friendliness. "You will pardon my little plot, Cavalier," said the general, "especially as I gave orders that you should be made very comfortable here. I wished to see you in what manner and how far you were our servant, and I have succeeded admirably. I find, as I imagined, that you are invaluable, but it must be on your own terms and at your own time. You are faithful and unflinching when you have undertaken anything, but each mission must be entered upon or renounced at your own pleasure. I hope you have not been nourishing bitter thoughts of me during your incarceration here." "Far from it," replied Inglesant. "I have nothing to complain of. I have all I want, and the view from these windows is, as you see, unrivaled in Rome. If it consists with your policy, I should take it as a great favor were you to inform me whether the velvet masque was a mere tool or not." I could have sworn that her accent and manner were those of a person speaking the truth. Still, when the captain of the sbirri made way for me, I thought I was in the toils. "Your penetration did not err. The lady was the Countess of—" She conceived the idea of communicating with Molyneux herself, and confided it to her director. Not in confession, observe. He consulted me, and we advised what took place, and what may console you farther still. We did the lady no wrong. We have reason to know that, besides the poison, some writing was conveyed to Molyneux together with the casket, by which he obtained information which he was very desirous of receiving. You will forgive me now, since your amour propre is not touched, and your friend's purpose is served." There was a pause, after which the general said, "You have deserved well of the order, few better. And whatever your enemies may say, the companions of Jesus are not unmindful of their children, nor ungrateful unless the highest necessities of the general good require it. You look upon the prosecution of Molyneux as an act of intolerable tyranny, and you are yourself eager to enter upon a crusade on behalf of religious freedom and of the rights of private devotion and judgment. You are ready to engage almost single-handed against the whole strength of the Society of Jesus, of the curia, and of the existing powers. I say nothing of the quixotic nature of the enterprise that would not deter you, nor of its utter hopelessness. How hopeless you may judge from the sudden collapse of the party of Molyneux, a party so favored in high places, so fashionable, patronized, as has been said, even by the Pope himself. You may also judge of this from the fact, of which you are probably aware, that every detail of your late meeting was communicated to us by the president of that meeting, and by many of those who attended it. But in speaking of these matters to you, whose welfare I sincerely seek, I address myself to another argument, which I imagine will have more weight. You have only considered this coveted spiritual freedom as the right of the favored few, of the educated and refined. You have no desire and no intention that it should be extended to the populace. But you do not consider, as those who have the guidance of the Church politely are bound to consider, that to grant it to the one and deny it to the other is impossible, that these principles are sure to spread, that in England and in other countries where they have spread, they have been the occasion of incalculable mischiefs. You are standing at this moment, thanks chiefly to the nurture and clemency of the much abused Society of Jesus, at a point where you may choose one of two roads, which, joining here, will never meet again. The question is between individual license and obedience to authority, and upon the choice, though you may not think it, depends the very existence of Christianity in the world. Between unquestioning obedience to authority and absolute unbelief, there is not a single permanent resting place, though many temporary halts may be made. You will scarcely dispute this when you remember that every heretical sect admits it. They only differ as to what the authority is to which obedience is due. We, in Rome at least, cannot be expected to allow any authority save that of the Catholic Church, and indeed, what other can you place instead of it? A book? Do you think that those who have entered upon the path of inquiry will long submit to be fettered by the pages of dead languages? You know more of this probably than I do, from your acquaintance with the skeptics of other lands. He paused as if waiting for a reply, But Inglesant did not speak. Perhaps the logic of the Jesuit seemed to him unanswerable, especially in the St. Angelo at Rome. After a few seconds, the latter went on. "Ah, I fear you still bear me some malice. If so, I regret it very much. As I said before, you have no truer friend in Rome than the order and its unworthy general. I am convinced, both by my own experience and by the reports of others, that you are an invaluable friend and agent of the society in countries where men like you, gentlemen of honor, bold, unflinching, and of spotless name, are wanted at every turn, men who have the confidence of both parties, of enemies as well as friends. But long ere this you will have seen that here in Rome we do things differently. Here we strike openly and at once, and we require agents of a far lower type, not so much agents, indeed, as hammers ready to our hand. Your refined nature is altogether out of place. As a friend, I recommend you return to England. Father St. Clare is there, and no doubt requires you, and I am very certain that the climate of Rome will not suit your health. You have passed some years very pleasantly in Italy, as I believe, in spite of your share in those great sorrows to which we all are heir. And though I am grieved to separate you from your friends, the novelist in Rome, yet it is better that you should be parted in this manner than by sharper and more sudden means. Every facility shall be given you for transferring your property to England, and I hope you will take with you no unpleasant recollections of the city and of the poor fathers of Jesus, who wish you well." He pronounced these last words with so much feeling that Inglesant could only reply, "I have nothing to say of the society but what is good. It has ever been most tender and parental to me. I shall go away with nothing but sadness and affection in my heart, with nothing but gratitude towards you, Father, with nothing but reverence towards the city, the mother of the world." End of section 60. Read by Elijah Fisher.